Sorry about that. I forgot to mention that it might cut off quite abruptly just because I'm filming on my phone and there's just not much storage available. So sorry if it does cut off, but I will carry on in the next video. So we left off talking about sort of the different sounds used. There is no graphology in this, so we're going to move on from there and talk about pragmatics, how contextual factors influence meaning, cooperation, politeness, and dexis. So for this one I did have to look quite closely at the textbook. So let's have a little look. So I skipped graphology and went to pragmatics, which is mainly about how meaning is connected to words, and we're sort of looking at the principles of conversation. So it doesn't really apply here, but if we do skim and scan, we could use one of the forms, which is this spatial dexis, adverbs of place such as here, there, this, that, okay, which we do see in the stories are waiting text. However, this is mainly concerned with conversations. If you have a look at text 10D, as long as the person knows the place that you're in, you can use spatial dexis words. So for example, if you read this text here, you'll understand that a little bit more. So what I've just done in my notes here is that spatial dexis is used because it is demonstrating certain places and location in Paris. So that is the context. However, there's still ambiguity around that. Although we know this, that, here, there are places in Paris, and that's where spatial dexis comes in, they are still ambiguous. Paris is a very big place. We're not being told exactly where we're being led to. Okay, so that's the language levels. I could have gone into a lot more detail, I think, but I think you get the idea of how to do that for yourself. Moving on to the influence of context, which is worth the most marks in the exam. So it's really important to make sure you go into a lot of detail with this assessment objective. So when we are looking at context, we need to look at three things. We need to look at different aspects associated with mode, contextual factors, and where is it? The use of generic conventions. So for this stories awaiting text, it is purely spoken. However, if you have a look at your notes for mode, which I think is in chapter 2, yeah, mode and genre, and you look at the what speech is supposed to be. It's supposed to be dialogue, spontaneous, loosely structured, grammatically simple. I don't think that really applies here. It is a well-planned, because of the genre of the text. The genre of the text is an advert, so it's a highly planned and highly structured, persuasive spoken advert. However, it is grammatically simple, mainly because it does connect with this form of speech. Grammatically simple is associated with speech, so it does connect with that factor there. The fact it is spoken allows a French accent and allows emphasis. So when we're looking at mode, you've got to look at the affordances and limitations of that mode. So spoken, the affordances of it are, it can use a French accent, it can use emphasis. The limitations are that it is spontaneous, and that can sometimes lead to a downfall. So, but it actually overcomes that limitation by being by being highly planned and highly structured, because it is an advert. Let's go over to, on that note, the generic convention. So it is obviously an advert, and it has many persuasive features in it. You could go around and look at all the persuasive features that it uses, the repetition of phrases, personification, stories are waiting. You can go into loads of more detail, but for this section you mainly need to look at the conventions associated with the genre that you are looking at, and in this case the genre is an advert, there isn't any sort of way of looking at it differently. So some text might be informative and persuasive, but I think this text really is purely persuasive. There's no other way about it. The contextual factors influencing this advert, when I think about contextual factors, it's either on contextual factors that sort of influence the production or the reception. I think the reception is mainly influencing it because it's how people are going to receive it. It's definitely modern. I think it's definitely aimed at middle class people who can afford to get the Eurostar to Paris. There is this sort of idea that it's aimed at women due to the romance and the man's voice. So I put here the main and primary purpose, or the main priority, is the receiver. If you want some more ideas on that, you can look at chapter 2, text producers and receivers, and also I would highly recommend the chapter, I think it's chapter 3. Excuse my flicking here. No.